All right, guys. So John Fetterman is going to meet with Joe Biden. And before the meeting, he released this statement. This is really interesting. News. Fetterman calls on Biden to deschedule marijuana ahead of Pittsburgh visit. Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman on Monday called on President Joe Biden to use his existing authority to deschedule marijuana from its classification as a Schedule I drug and work to decriminalize marijuana. Quote, "It's long past time that we finally decriminalize marijuana," Fetterman said. "The president needs to use his executive authority to begin descheduling marijuana. I would love to see him do this prior to his visit to Pittsburgh. This is just common sense, and Pennsylvanians overwhelmingly support decriminalizing marijuana." Quote, "I don't want to hear any bullshit coming out of Dr. Oz's campaign trying to conflate decriminalizing marijuana with seriously harmful crimes. Are we supposed to believe that neither he nor any members of his staff have ever used marijuana? As mayor of Braddock, I made it my mission to combat serious crime. I know firsthand what real crime looks like. Marijuana does not fit the bill. It's time to end the hypocrisy on this issue once and for all." So here's what I love about this. You know, people are looking at Pennsylvania like, hey, it's kind of a swing state now, so Democrats need to tread carefully. Democrats need to be more moderate. In other words, be like a Joe Manchin, be like a Kyrsten Sinema. This is what the conventional wisdom DC insider class would say. John Fetterman is looking at them and saying, you're full of shit, you're wrong, I'm correct, watch me do my thing. And he's out there aggressively arguing for progressive values. Now, there are some issues where Fetterman is not great. The one that the Vanguard boys brought up to me and I've since looked into, and it's true, is like he's terrible on the issue of Israel. But relatively speaking, compared to other Democratic campaigns, he is running a pretty solidly left campaign. He's sort of leaning into the fact that he's kind of like a Bernie Sanders Democrat. You know, he supported Bernie Sanders in the past. Not in a million years would most Democrats who are running for office in what's supposed to be a red wave year and what's supposed to be a swing state, never would they lean into something like legalizing marijuana. John Fetterman is like, no, I'm going to do that. Not only am I going to do that, I'm going to prod the Democratic president who just had a string of victories before he meets with me to say, hey, before you even come see me, dog, just decriminalize marijuana. You know it's the right thing to do. That's balls. That's balls. And it also shows, I think he has his finger on the pulse way more than most politicians. Like, he understands, he's with the people in realizing this is a no-brainer issue. This is a duh issue. The polls are like 70% in favor of legalizing marijuana. It's not really a political risk, even though insiders would tell you it's a massive political risk. And the other point is, look, I mean, Joe Biden, come on, dog. Hunter Biden is your son. This dude does crack out of strippers' assholes. This dude was masturbating in a sensory deprivation tank while doing crack. The whole point of a sensory deprivation tank is to, like, separate yourself from all of your senses. This motherfucker did the opposite in there. He heightened all of his senses. He's been to rehab about 412 times. He shook his dad down for money and said it was for rehab and then turned around and spent it on, like, hookers and blow. Okay? So this is your son. Now, Biden has said about his son how much he loves his son, how he's the smartest guy I've ever met and all that stuff. It's like, okay, dude, I get it. So for Hunter, you want rehab until the cows come home. But for any other drug user or any other drug dealer, I wouldn't be surprised if Hunter sold drugs at some point too. For them, you want to throw the book at them. You want to lock them up and throw away the key. You want to ruin their lives. You want to make them felons. The hypocrisy is astounding. It's overwhelming. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I've told you a million times. I'm fine with being tough on crimes that I think should actually be crimes. So, you know, you want to throw the book at the Wall Street criminals who defrauded everybody in sight and ran out the back door with all the money and rigged the system. You want to throw the book at them and lock them up. You want to, you know, lock up war criminals. You want to lock up murderers and people doing grand larceny. I'm in favor of being tough on crime on those people. I'm not in favor of being tough on crime for things that aren't fucking crimes. I'm in favor of freeing those people and not punishing them in the first place. And so I'm fine with Biden doing his whole tough on crime shtick, but you have to not apply it on the issue of drugs because it makes no sense. These aren't real crimes. And so the hypocrisy of Hunter Biden being who he is and doing what he does and him not descheduling marijuana, and credit to Fetterman, he's not playing this stupid game that the media likes to play where either they don't talk about this issue or if they do talk about it, they mention like, oh, it should probably go through Congress. It doesn't need to go through Congress. It doesn't. the president can just take it off the Schedule 1 substances list, and then problem solved. It's over. It's done. You know, and also Fetterman said he's calling to decriminalize it, which is different than legalizing it. To decriminalize it is to lower the scheduling of it or take it off the scheduled substances list. To legalize it would be like you could literally go to your local CVS or Walgreens, any place around the country, and get it, right? But I think the reason why he did that is because he's playing more to Biden's sensibilities, where Biden does have that drug warrior strain in him. So he's like, look, at the very least, decriminalize it, bro. At the very least, decriminalize it. And again, prodding him before they even meet, I think, is based. Now, I will say this as well, and this is a point that Mac made on Twitter. Good politic guy. He's like, this is a Democratic silver bullet, and they're acting like it's not. So if Joe Biden, before the midterms, were to say, let's say 3 days or a week before the midterms, he calls a press conference and he says, I've just decided to deschedule marijuana and it's now decriminalized all around the nation. We're going to stop pretending that we're going to stop having this two-tier system that's really contradictory, where some states have it legal, but then the federal government says it's still technically illegal, but sometimes we overlook it and sometimes we crack down. No, we're going to end that today. We're taking it off the scheduled substances list. That's 70% popular. That would guarantee the Democrats doing very well in the midterms. Because they already made up the difference, right? They already closed the gap massively. It was supposed to be a red wave year, string of Democratic victories, plus Roe versus Wade being overturned, and then boom, now it's a race again. So now it looks like the Democrats will hold the Senate, but the Republicans will win the House. The Democrats could hold the House too if Biden does something like decriminalizes marijuana. And it's a no-brainer. It is a no-brainer. It's a silver bullet, just like Max said. And I love that Fetterman is applying some pressure to Joe Biden. Because the fact of the matter is, look, everybody's sort of given up on Joe for this issue specifically because of his past, because he's a drug warrior, because he did the 94 crime bill. Everybody just thinks this is one area where he really ideologically is committed to the opposite position. So, but I love that Fetterman is pushing him on it. I love that Fetterman is keeping things, in perspective. And let's just hope that Biden listens. Let's just hope that he takes this to heart. Because I will say this about Joe, despite all of his flaws, when he pulled all of the boots on the ground out of Afghanistan, every expert behind the scenes was telling him, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And Biden, even knowing what could go wrong, the fact that he greenlit that shows he does have a strain in him where sometimes he'll tell the experts, the staffers, the people with insider brain, he'll tell them, you know what, fuck off. I think this is the right thing to do, so I'm going to do it. Okay, you got to give him credit on that one. You have to do it. Student loan debt elimination, or student loan debt reduction, I should say. Did you know Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and Jill Biden, Jill, his wife, were apparently pressuring him behind the scenes to the last minute? Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Larry Summers, that horrendous neoliberal economist who's responsible for so many of the wrongs that we have in the country today, he was pressuring Biden. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And Biden still said, you know what? I don't agree with my wife. I don't agree with my Treasury Secretary. I don't agree with Larry Summers. I don't agree with every expert in my ear who's whispering, don't do it. He also had credit to the progressives on this because Bernie Sanders and even Chuck Schumer said do $50,000, right? But Bernie Sanders like eliminate it all. A lot of progressives were like eliminate it all. So he actually leaned more on the side of the progressives and said, at the very least, I'm going to do 10,000. And he even made it more than that at the last minute, 20,000 for Pell Grant recipients and capping your monthly payment at 5% of your income. That's Obama did it at 10. He cut it in half to 5. So he said, screw you to the overwhelming majority of the experts in his ear. So when he believes something, he'll stand up for it. He'll tell, the establishment to go kick rocks, even though he is part of the establishment. So this is one where his mind has to actually be changed. It has to actually be changed. And, I don't know the way to do that. I really don't. Maybe it's to get the idea through his head that, hey, dude, alcohol is a way worse drug than marijuana. It is. It just factually is. It ruins more lives. It's harsher on your body. But nobody talks about banning alcohol because that's ridiculous. We believe in individual liberty and freedom. And the same thing should apply to marijuana. It really should. So anyway, props to Fetterman and cross your fingers. Hope Biden listens, even though it's a long shot. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.